Well, we're back as promised. We've got the winner of the Spud Nation Throwdown, but I'm not going to tell you who it is just yet. But what I am going to tell you is been. Bear with me one second. As you can see, we're on the show floor, and they're making an announcement. We're trying to talk. We're fighting each other. And we've got Potatoes USA playing golf over there. Okay, so here's where we are. So we're back live. We're going to be going from now until 5 o'clock. We've got 15 more great interviews. You want to stay tuned to learn everything you can about the potato business, about consumer trends, certainly about ag trends. But now's the time to reveal who our Spud Nation Throwdown winner is. So this year's top Spud, Dianna Fricke.
Hello.
Hey, Dianna, from Simplot. Now, here's our award. It looks like this should be given to Hulk Hogan. This is impressive.
It is. It's the very first award belt I've ever received in my life.
But not your very first award, I know that.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, the recipe, the winning recipe, what it was, how you came up with it, and why you think the judges picked it.
Absolutely. Well, being a mystery basket, we got to go in about 6 a.m. this morning and look at what the ingredients were. And there were some definite things missing in there to make certain flavor profiles happen. And so there were lots of potatoes, so there was no shortage of that. So I sort of went forward with, there were about 4 different cheeses. And so like one culinary secret, there was actually a 5-pound block of Velveeta in there. And so a lot of people think of that as like a low quality cheese, but actually if you make a cheese sauce at home, if you put you put a little stick of Velveeta in there, it won't break. So I added the Velveeta, the cheddar, and the Swiss together to make sort of a potato casserole, and I shredded the red, blue, and white potatoes so that there was lots of color,
Very
or sliced
patriotic.
them. I sliced them, yes.
Yeah.
And then I sauteed some onions and then some Rajas peppers to go in between, so I kind of went with the Southwestern theme. And then I made a homemade salsa, so I flame roasted, or I charred some potatoes and some onions, and then I blended that with some different spices. Cooked that down to make it into a nice salsa, added some more tomato paste and a little bit of cayenne for heat as the sauce. Just seasoned up a chicken breast with salt, pepper, a little bit of oregano. Pan-seared that, so then I layered all that in a dish, and I think one of the things that I could hear the judges say is that they really liked the way that that looked. So you had those nice creamy potatoes in the bottom with lots of cheese, and then you had the chicken breast, and then you had this beautiful red sauce over the top, drizzled it with a little bit of sour cream, and then I pickled some potatoes. I did that yesterday too, but it's absolutely something that I love because they remind me of a radish in Southwestern food. And all you do is boil the vinegar, a little bit of salt. I use peppercorns and red pepper flakes. And if you slice the potato thinly, just like you would a radish, and put it into the hot vinegar and let it cool naturally, it just cooks the potato just enough so that it has that radish texture, and then it has that nice pickled flavor to it. A little sprig of cilantro, and they must have loved it because it looked great.
They must have, because you won. But also, I know the judges were very impressed with your pickling ability, that you did it right there, again, in less than an hour, about 45 minutes from start to finish. So they were very impressed with that. The other thing that I walked away with, they also were very impressed that you only used cayenne pepper. They thought that you were mixing a whole bunch of jalapenos or some other kind of pepper, and you had an explanation for that. What was that?
I wish there were none in my chopped basket.
Yeah.
That's what was missing from a Mexican platform. There were no jalapenos, poblanos, there were none. So I just had dry seasonings.
But they didn't seem to mind at all.
No, and I tried to round it out with the tomato paste and a little bit of sugar and things to kind of balance the flavor of the sauce out. And then I also think roasting it kind of adds additional flavor notes too.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how is it to compete? This was your first time at the Spud Nation Throwdown. Talk to me about the process, the other chefs that you met, and how was it?
It was awesome. It was really awesome because I've worked with some of the other chefs before, some of them not. I've known Glenda through another company, and having to get to work with her is awesome because
She was your table mate.
She was my table mate, but you know these people, but you don't always get to work with them, and so having that time to be one-on-one, and you would think because we work for competitive companies that would be a challenge, but we all just pitch in and get things done. That's just what we do.
And the camaraderie between all of you, both yesterday and today, was fabulous.
Yeah.
And it really talks about what culinary and what chefs are all about. figuring out how to make things work. You know, I have to laugh or really snicker at the fact that so many people, you know, look at restaurants as being, you know, these huge waste factories, when it's just the opposite. I mean, today's a perfect example where you can take two chefs who have whatever there is and they make something fabulous out of it. It's not like, you know, oh, you know, I can't cook because I don't have this ingredient here.
People always say that. They're like, my husband's a chef as well. They'll be like, when you go home, you know, do you make big fancy meals and stuff? And we're like the most normal people. We open up the fridge or freezer and we're like, what do we have? And so I guess you make chopped every night on some level.
So who's the better chef, you or your husband?
Me.
Yeah, why? Why?
I don't know. We work well together in the kitchen, but yeah, he likes different things and I like different things. So I think it works well together.
So what advice do you have for up-and-coming top spuds to next year's competitors and all the other years' competitors that we're going to have? You know, what should they know going into it, and what advice could you give them so that they can win next year's belt?
Absolutely. You know, I'd like to say that I practiced. I didn't. So I think it's just knowing what you're doing cooking. And then I mentioned this when I received the belt. Doing what I do, it's more R&D and it's more frozen product, and I don't get to work with fresh potatoes as much as I would really like to. So it was really cool to go online and look at all the different sites and see all the different varieties of potatoes. And as I was traveling, I would go to different grocery stores and see what kind of potatoes they have. And there's actually just a ton of them in the fresh market that I just didn't even realize were out there to work with.
So having gone through this experience, do you think that there's any of these recipes that you would try to translate into a frozen product that we could all buy, you know, at Kroger?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we talked about it before, how the consumer's palate is so much more refined than it has been in the past. And so certainly they've had au gratin potatoes out there for years, but the opportunity to put in the rainbow fingerlings or to put in a different variety of potatoes to elevate that dish, for the consumer, I think would be a great opportunity.
So now when you go back, you know, to headquarters and you got your belt, you got to walk in and say, here's what we're going to do next.
We're going to play with the potatoes more.
We're going to play with potatoes more. Well, Dianna, congratulations. You did
Thank
a fabulous job.
Thank you very much.
Wear your belt proudly.
I will.
And come back and see us next year for the
Awesome.
Spud Nation Throwdown as well.
It's been great to see the conference.
Oh, good. Well,
Okay.
Thanks so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. So let's all congratulate Dianna on Facebook. So make sure you like this. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more.